everybody, thank you for tuning in. As you can see, we've asked Ellie to come back again, back by popular demand. A lot of you asked to have her back on and to continue down the path of what we're looking for first-time investments, and I guess we were mostly geared towards multifamily, so I guess we'll stick with that. First of all, Ellie, thank you for coming back.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun. So why don't you give us your, for the new viewers, why don't you give us your background, who you are, what you're doing?
Sure. So I used to be a commercial real estate lawyer, property manager, and then a real estate investor, also syndicator. So we focus on multifamily properties in Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Even though I live in the best city in the world, Los Angeles, Santa Monica to be exact.
Every Texan, Georgian, Floridian all just said, "Oh hell no, they're logging off right now."
Well, I'm happy to live here, but we are cash flow buyers, and LA is a great market for an appreciation buyer, and we can't see the cash flow here, so unfortunately we have to hop on the plane every time there's a good opportunity. But yeah, these are the three markets that we're focused on.
Okay. Now, how did you choose those three markets?
So basically, the process was kind of gradual because we made sure, and I personally made sure, that I'm educating myself and I know everything there is to know about the market before I invest in it. And the decision was not to just look at every opportunity across the U.S. and decide which one works for us, because you really have to understand the location, the market dynamics, and each market and sub-market is different. So there are four things that we're looking at when we're looking at markets. The first thing is population growth. And because I want to be where people are, and where people go, it's basically where you have higher demand, so you can make sure, or you can be, you can feel a little bit safer in that area because you're going to have demand for the properties, for your units. So population growth is the first thing, and I go to census.gov and I search for the specific MSA and make sure that I look at the numbers of the last 5 years, and I see what were the numbers 5 years ago, 4, 3, 2 years ago until today. And I'm trying to see if there's an upward trend. Do
you have a percentage that you'd like to see of growth?
Not necessarily, but it has to be significant enough. Yeah, in Texas and Florida actually were one of the two states with the highest migration within the U.S. So people even leave, unfortunately, California to go to those warm markets. And I like warm markets because people like warm markets, so that's where they go. So that's the first thing that I'm looking at. The second thing is job growth, and they are related, because if you have new employer, new jobs, then basically people would follow. So we're looking into job growth. If new employers come and there's new jobs that are added every year. So in DFW, one of the markets that we're active in, during the past 12 months, there have been about slightly over 100,000 new jobs since last year, which means that more people are moving to the area. And you can find that also at the same website, census.gov. And it's also very important to make sure that you understand who are the main employers, because you don't want to have one employer or one industry that control the market. Because if something happens to them, it means that you have a market with a lot of people that just got fired, and that's for sure going to affect your property. That's the second thing. The third thing that we're looking at, so we said population growth, job growth, and we're looking at rent growth. So Orlando, one of the markets that we're active in as well, had an amazing rent growth of around 7%, and I'm talking about multifamily properties. I'm not so familiar with other, with offices and in retail, and that's a strong indication that the market is more likely to continue to be strong. So we don't know, what's going to happen in the future. We don't know if next year it's going to be probably not going to be 7%, but maybe it's going to be 6%, maybe it's going to be 5%. But I think the likelihood of the market to switch from 7% rent growth to 1% rent growth, you know, it will take a major recession, a major event to happen. So we make sure that you have population, rent, and job growth, and they're all connected. If you have more jobs, people follow. People follow, there's more demand, rents increase. So all those three kind of criteria, they're all connected. And the last thing that I'm looking at is a landlord-friendly state.
Right.
And that's very important because some states are not landlord-friendly, which means that if your tenant is not paying you, it's going to take you 9 months to evict it. Yeah.
It's a tough process. Now, do you said in the previous video that you do LLCs. Do you put those LLCs in each state, or do you run them all out of California?
I don't run them out of California. It depends because it's a little bit complicated. Some of them, the LLC that holds the real estate, it's a local LLC, and then you have the LLC for the syndication, and that's either local or in a different state depending on the rules of each state.
Right. Yeah, because I was just thinking with Texas and Florida, I don't know about Georgia actually, but you know, no state income tax. So that might be something that everybody wants to take a look at as well. That's great information.
Yeah, and it takes, I don't know, half an hour to an hour to find all the information on that website. You can also go to citydata.com, and you have a lot of information on those markets. You want to be in a market that is developing, that is growing.
Right.
There's a lot of great opportunities. They look like great opportunities in other areas, but if something happens, if the market shifts, we want to be in an area that is going to be affected not in a major way, I'd say. So there's going to be enough forces that are going to make sure that this market is still going to be solid, even if things are not going to go great. And it looks like right now almost every market in the U.S. is doing great, and there are opportunities everywhere. But it's really important, in my opinion, to focus on a few markets that you know very, very well. So you know if there's a new mall that is under development, then you know that you want to, it's going to bring more jobs, and the real estate prices are going to, you know, around it are going to go up. And you can't really know all that if you only depend on what you can see online or the information that you get from other people.
Now, do you go, before you buy, do you boots on the ground? Do you go there and walk each property, or do you trust that you buy the property and then go and do your inspections, or how do you do that? Or it might be mixed too, I guess.
Yeah, well, interesting question. Because we're buying out of state, so I'd never buy anything before seeing it, but I can go and walk every property and look at it before I know that my offer is even, you know, on the table. So what we do is that so when I first entered the markets, I spent a week or two in each market. I drove in the neighborhoods. I looked at different opportunities that were on the market just to understand it better and understand which areas I want to be in. And then what happens today is that we see opportunities, we underwrite them, and we decide which one we want to make offers on. And then once the offers are accepted, they're basically accepted to the next round. The second round is called best and final. And if we make it to the best and final round, we have usually between a week to 10 days to make a final offer. And during that time frame, I fly out there, I walk the property, I assess if this is really what I want, you know, a property that I'm interested in buying, because 90% of the time the deal either doesn't work because we're very conservative, so the properties are overpriced, or the property is priced correctly, but it's not an area that I want to be in.
Okay. Now, first of all, everybody notices she's very experienced in this. There's a full process. I'm losing my voice, and you're doing all the talking. But there's a whole process she goes through. So make sure you have a structure. Make sure you know exactly the investment you're looking for, where you're looking for it. You're hearing it here, how she has, you know, she knows the areas. She knows exactly how the process is going to play out. I do have one question. Now, do you guys focus on off-market deals, on-market deals? How do you find your deals?
So most of our deals are actually marketed. For one reason, we are focused on Class B and 100 units and above.
Okay.
So in that, type of assets and deals, usually the sellers are more sophisticated and they do it with a broker. There was a period of time where I tried to go off market. The deals were either too small for us or they were big enough, but in an area that was not area that we wanted to be in, just because maybe the brokers didn't want to deal with that. I'm not sure why. Which, it's easier to find the opportunities because they're out there. Brokers either call us or we see it online, but there's a lot more. We see it and the rest of the world does.
Yeah.
So the competition is also very strong. But if you're looking for smaller deals, or if your appetite for risk is higher than mine, and you don't mind looking, into classes
C and
C's and D's, exactly, then there's a lot of off-market opportunities out there, and some brokers have those opportunities. You can also be active in online in forums like Bigger Pockets, or go to events and meet brokers and network that way, and you can have access to off-market deals. But it takes time to build those relationships, because brokers are not just going to give you the off-market deals they have.
They want to know you can perform.
Exactly.
If you can't perform, then you're done. Ellie, thank you very much. What great information. I hope you guys made it through the whole video. I'm going to put Ellie's contact information down below, or reach out to me. And if you have any questions for her, I'll reach out to her or make sure we get you guys connected. So actually, I'll put your podcast information and your blog on here as well, so you can have access to. They can have access to that as well. But thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And thank you for tuning in.